Kia on Zoom.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 5:13. We went out to look at the fire and the grants and took some pictures. Anyway, Scott, would you call the roll?
Yes. I'm just making a note of the time here. Chair Mendez Sanchez is absent with notice. Commissioner Danforth?
Here.
Commissioner Byer? Here. Commissioner Ducal?
Here.
Also present is interim town administrator Scott Ayresman, town attorney Seth Walker, and our representative from Crestern Peak Community Housing, Kia Chinara.
We have a quorum, so we're ready to proceed. The next item is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions from the agenda, comments, concerns? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Motion by Benjamin, second by Jenny. We'll have citizens' comments. Are there any comments from this? There are no citizens. There's no one in the room other than the four of us. So, are there any comments via Zoom? Please hold up your hand.
I think that yours is over there.
No. Hearing no comments, seeing no hands raised, we'll close citizens' comments and move to the next item, which is reports. Are there any reports?
No.
No reports. The next item is approval of the minutes of the Planning Commission special meeting of August 10th. We had an opportunity to look at those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from special meeting Wednesday, August 30th.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. Motion made and second. I don't think we voted on the first motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Back and I don't think we voted to approve the agenda.
Yeah,
So
we've got a motion to approve it. You just gotta vote.
we had a motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. Both motion carry. And that brings us to the next item, which is new business. Request for change to Living Wisdom PUD final building plans. Crestone Peak Community Housing.
And I'll give a little bit of introduction to this. This was, you will notice, very, very similar to the new business at the special meeting last week. There was a little bit of confusion at that meeting as to whether that motion was approving a change to the application or to approving a change to the final building plan. And that's something that, just for the legal purposes of the motion, matters. And so that's the reason that we are back on this. And with that said, I believe over the weekend, our attorney Seth Walker has had a chance to review some of the documentation that he was missing from his office. And I believe that he has his own thoughts to share on this.
Seth, please offer your advice.
Okay. Thank you, Commission. I want to start off by saying that I have a lot of information, but I may not have all information. So if someone has something to add, please let me know. But this would be my recommendation at the time. This is in regard to the letter the Commission received from Ms. Schreiber last week, July 24th, 2023 is the date of that letter. It is asking, I might just read it if we don't mind, per the municipal code section, or summarize it, I'm sorry. 15-9-201. I am writing to let you know there has been a minor change in the Living Wisdom Village site plan submitted with the PUD final development plan in March 2021. The housing manufacturer we have been working with for more than 2 years, Indie Dwell, closed its doors unexpectedly in late April 2023. This was a circumstance we could not have anticipated. I'm going to skip around for a few paragraphs there. The end of the third paragraph states that the municipal code states that the planning commission must authorize this minor change in the plans. I would disagree slightly there. The planning commission may, if it is a minor change in the location, siting, and height of a building and structures and other minor changes, may be authorized by the planning commission if required by engineering or other circumstances not foreseen at the time of the final plan was approved. So I would say that they do have the ability to do so. I don't know that if it is a must, but that is the letter, I believe, what instigated this. There was a lot of confusion, in my opinion, and I was confused greatly last week about whether or not we were reviewing an application or a final development plan. After some additional research, some of this information, I will admit, was given to me only today at about 4:30. I would reference the May 10th, 2021 Board of Trustees meeting. If we read those meeting minutes, and I would ask, these were provided to me by the applicant, so if anyone has any additional information, please let me know. Under Attorney's Report, Section C, PUD, Final Approval, Crestone Peak Community Housing. Under the motion, Trustee Lackey moved and Trustee Martinez seconded to approve and certify by the town board that the Crestone Peak Community Housing's final plan confirmed to Section 15.9.130 of the town code, and that the conditions and findings set forth by the town of Crestone for a planned unit development are approved. The vote of the trustees present was unanimously in favor, and Mayor Danforth declared the motion carried. So I would say that an application was approved, and that at this meeting in 2021, the final development plan was also approved. So if I could reference once again the letter that was sent to the Planning Commission, which is why we're here today, I do think they correctly cite that we are trying to, or what they are asking for, is a final development plan amendment, which is governed under Town Code 15.9.200. It seems to me that they are simply asking for a change from what they considered prefabricated structures to stick belt structures. That would be open for interpretation under this letter. Was this letter provided to all the commission members?
It was at the last meeting. However, I did not put it in the packet for this meeting.
I got it.
It's right here.
Oh,
I got it.
but some members of the planning commission have it from the last meeting. If you guys do not have a copy of that letter from last Thursday, do you want me to?
I've seen it. I've seen it and read it. I can just share it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty.
I think a lot of it is fairly straightforward, but once again, my impression was that they were asking for a change from pre-manufactured structures to basically using a design and an engineer to do stick belt structures. They do state that the footprint of the new design will be within 10% of the previously anticipated dwelling units, and that the density of the village remains the same and was approved in their PUD process. So if I read the code, and as I read the code, if the commission does want to consider this a minor change, they do have the ability to approve of this change. And that is what kind of brings us here today. This would be a approval that does not require board permission if it is considered a minor change.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for the introduction, Seth. Is there anything else that should be considered when making a making this decision? It's from what you're saying, it sounds like you're saying that in 2021, this application was approved.
Unanimously
In
approved.
2021, I believe that the final development plan was actually approved, which is a step beyond the application. I was under the impression earlier today even that at that time the application had not been approved, and there may have been some timelines that we were flirting with or had even passed. But as I read this in 2021, it is actually the final development plan that was approved, and that is the step after approving the application.
Got it. Okay.
So what about all the conditional ones? What about, but there's still work going on, that's my understanding that the final architectural drawings haven't been, submitted. The in-depth drawings and the PUD is still in process of at least one or more of those change conditions.
Mayor Danforth, I do wish that I had a little more information with that. What I'm going off of is the meeting minutes that have been provided to me from 2021. And I don't know if all of the conditions had been approved or if the board did make that approval, possibly lacking a couple of those additions or conditions.
With that said, it sounds to me like what is in question. It sounds like regardless of whether or not the conditions were all met, or whether the board should have approved it based on the conditions being met, it sounds like the application was approved and we are now beyond that, correct?
I would say the application was previously approved, and at that date, the final development plan was actually approved. That does bring us into some other terms possibly, but once again, I think the question for tonight is that the applicant has asked for an amendment to the final development plan. The commission has the ability to make a approval of a minor change, and that is spelled out in our town code. Do we have a copy of that for the members?
Of
I can read.
section of code, that
Yes.
we were discussing. I did not make a copy of that, no.
Okay, I can read that and we can provide that to the commission members if they would like. But I believe that that is the question, and I could read that right now. As cited in the letter, Municipal Code 15-9-200, Final Development Plan Amendment Procedure. No changes may be made in the approved final development plan during the construction of the planned unit development, except upon application to the appropriate agency under the following procedures provided below. 1, minor changes in the location, siting, and height of buildings and structures, and other minor changes may be authorized by the Planning Commission if required by engineering or other circumstances not foreseen at the time of the final plan was approved. That is a exact citation they are using. So I believe that they are asking that this is a minor change, that the commission makes a finding that this is a minor change and either approve or deny of the change. 2, no change authorized by this section may increase the overall outside dimensions of any building or structure by more than 10%. That is noted in their letter also that this will not, the new design will be within 10% of the previously anticipated IndyDwell units. 3, all changes in use, density, or in the outline development plan must be approved by the town board under the changes and procedures authorized by this article for the amendment of the zoning map. They touch on that also, that the use and density of the village remains the same as was approved in the PUD process. Number 4, I believe that this would probably be the other decision the commission could make. all other changes in the arrangement of lots, blocks, and buildings, any changes in the provision of common open spaces, and all other changes in the approved final development plan must be approved by the town board under the procedures authorized for final plan approval, unless they are shown to be required by changes in the development policy of the community or by conditions that were unforeseen at the time of approval of the final development plan. Number 5, any changes which are approved for the final development plan must be recorded as amendments to the recorded copy of the final development plan.
Now, Seth, the section that you're reading, I do want to print this for the commissioners. Is this section 15.9.200?
200 at sec, yes. So that is 201 through 5.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
So if I would paraphrase, I think the question before the commission is we may ask for a simple clarification by the applicant of what they're trying to change. Is it solely that they're changing from a prefabricated building to a stick-built construction? If so, does the board consider that a minor change? And if they do, they have the ability to make that approval. They do not have to go to the board. The commission can make that change. They do not have to go to the town board.
And I will confirm that that is the case. The pre-manufactured housing is no longer available. And so we have moved to a site build for the housing units.
So I think that brings us to you guys.
So do we want to authorize this minor change?
Yeah. I make a motion to approve the minor changes that have been proposed by the Crestone planning, Crestone Housing Wisdom Village, the Living Wisdom Village, sorry. But
Seth, is there specific wording that we should make sure to include in the motion? A specific way of phrasing this?
I would just be as clear as possible that the minor change requested by the applicant is that the type of construction be modified from a pre-built structure to a stick-built structure. And then I would continue to follow along with their language. I'm sorry, pre-manufactured housing is the language they use. The footprint of the design will not be greater than 10% of what was previously described in the final development plan. There will be no change in the use, no change in the density of the village.
Give me just a second. I'm just getting this.
So Scott, do you want to read the motion back then?
Yep. So I've got Commissioner DeCall moving to approve the request to modify the final building plan of the Crestone Peak Community Housing PUD by changing from prefabricated to stick-built structures. And do you want me to, should I include that there will be no changes to density or?
it's noted in the 15.9.200.
And Scott, I'm sorry, I may have misread, but I would ask that this be a statement of the commission that they consider this a minor change.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, commissioners, do you
So is
consider
there
this a minor
second to
change?
that motion?
I'll make a second.
Well,
Yeah.
but before we do, it sounds like Seth wants a statement from the planning commission that you consider this a minor change, and it doesn't need to go to
I
the.
would add that to the motion also.
We've been told it is a minor change.
Question.
We have not received any,
So do you want a
Site
statement to
plan,
that effect and the
yeah.
motion, have two motions?
I think it's part of the one motion.
Or all encompassed into one motion?
That would be my advice. Just make that one motion. I just ask that the board also state, or I'm sorry, the commission also state that they consider this a minor change.
Okay.
Yeah, we
That
consider
sounds
this a
good.
minor change. The revised site plan has not been submitted yet. So we've been told it is a minor change.
Well, not that we've been told, we believe
We
this. to
believe
be-
this is a minor change. Okay.
So right now I've got that, Commissioner DeCall moved to approve the request to modify the final building plan of the Creston Peak Community Housing PUD by changing from prefabricated to stick-built structures. The commission considers this to be a minor change. Does that hit check the boxes, Seth?
Yes, sir.
Great, okay.
Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded, by Benjamin, made by Jenny. Discussion of the
Yeah.
motion.
Oh, what about the 9 conditions?
What?
What about the 9 conditions? Do we drop those?
Well, Seth has said that it doesn't really matter anymore whether they're met or not met,
That's
since
right.
the final development plan was approved. Is that?
I think well, and I don't want to speak for Seth, I think it still matters that they meet those conditions. It just doesn't matter for the sake of approving the development plan.
Well, then
Is that right, Seth?
Yeah,
Then I
Approving
don't-
this amendment.
we're only approving this
Right.
amendment.
So then I would ask our attorney to explain to us what is the current. What is our current, requirement or potential for addressing any unmet conditions at this point.
Well,
And-
I will backtrack just a little there. The minutes from that meeting on May 10th, 2021. I do think are a little gray. And I'm not trying to point fingers or disprove anyone. It's always easy to show hindsight, I guess I would say. But the minutes there do state, and if these minutes are changed or incorrect, I would ask somebody to please let me know. They approved and certified by the town board that the Crestone Peak Community Housing final plan confirmed by section 15.9.130 of the town code, and that the conditions and findings set forth by the town of Crestone for a planned unit development are approved. Does that mean that those 9 conditions were approved as to be one of the 9 conditions? Or does that mean that the 9 conditions were completed? I honestly don't know. And I don't have that answer for you. It is a little bit of a gray area, and it could probably be argued both directions.
You have written down the conditions so that we can readdress them.
I've got those, I've got those here
I
for
think
you.
we have to go-
Benjamin?
And one of the conditions was a bond, and I think we need to, do we have to have proof of a bond for this project? Is there? I mean, is there like little proofs that we're supposed to get as we go forward, or is it assumed that the bond is already taken care of, or how does that work? Because probably, IKEA, am I correct that you will need a bond for the grant anyways?
No, our contractor will have to provide a performance and a payment bond. Yes, in order to move forward with construction.
Okay, that's,
Well, it appeared at our last meeting from the questions that were asked of us that, asking that you pay only whatever our actual cost is for.
And I think that we might try to separate those two subjects, because if I'm reading that letter correctly, the only change or amendment, I should use the correct term,
Is what
that
we
they are
should-
asking for currently is the change from a,
yes.
I'm sorry, let me read their letter, pre-manufactured,
Yeah,
pre-manufactured housing to a stick-built housing.
this is, that's for today's.
Well, let's go, I call the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What?
On
To the
on
motion that you made,
Oh. Hi. So,
opposed nay, ayes have it, and the motion carries.
I just don't, I still don't quite get what,
Don't worry about it. It's
Okay.
gonna come up.
yeah,
again.
come on, yeah.
May I add one more comment?
Yeah,
So at the time that the final PUD package was submitted to the town, it was submitted with 2 full sets of construction drawings. Those are not helpful as far as the housing goes because we're no longer using IndyDwell. But when we come in to apply for our building permit, we will submit an amended set of construction plans that show the stick-built housing versus the pre-manufactured. So those are still being tweaked by our architect and engineers. We expect to have those completed within 2 to 3 weeks. And then we will submit 2 more sets of those at the time that the building permit is applied for.
And the tap fees, do we have any questions about tap fees?
well, that will have, again, it will come up when all this is.
Yeah. Yeah, those requests will be on the next, on Monday, because those were really requests for the board.
Mhm.
And
Is
yeah,
there
may I
any-
ask, just for clarification, are you considering the letter titled the final PUD narrative to be the final development plan?
Well, it was at the time, yes, yes. With the only change being moving from the pre-manufactured housing now to the stick-built.
Okay.
But yes, that was the final plan.
Okay. Could you also just clarify to me, did that include a timeline?
No. We can't establish the timeline until we've pulled a building permit.
So the only thing I've noticed is that in the middle of page 1, there's a line, construction is scheduled to begin by late summer 2021 and will be completed within 4 to 6 months, depending on vendor schedules and weather.
It didn't happen. But that was our best guess at the time that we submitted that paperwork. So in the meantime, the state received money from ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. And it took them about 1.5 years to create the programs and the processes for distributing those monies. And that is what created that very long wait.
Well, one of the requirements of the final development plan is a timeline, and the timeline's mentioned throughout the review process. And I may ask for an updated schedule.
Yep.
According to our town code 159180,
Mhm.
the final development plan, development schedule, compliance required, and extensions. A, from time to time, the planning commission shall compare the actual development accomplished in the various planned unit developments with the approved development schedules. And if we don't have any more statement than that one sentence of construction is scheduled to begin by late summer 2021, will be completed within 4 to 6 months, depending on vendor schedules and weather. That's all that I pulled out of that agreement. That moves us on to B. If the owner of property in the PUD have failed to meet the approved development schedule, proceedings may be initiated to revoke the approved final development plan. And C, for good cause shown by the property owner, the planning commission may extend the limits on the development schedule. It just seems to me like this project is taking a while, and I want to make sure everyone has all the information available. You've provided me with a lot of that just today, which I really appreciate. And I want to make sure we're all on the same foot.
Benjamin,
Should we make a motion to extend it so that it's back in order again as far as the dates and time and stuff
does the
like that?
code provide for that?
Well, they're supposed to check with the planning commission.
So in my opinion, reading C, the property owner should request that extension.
Is that something that we need in writing in order to respond to, Seth?
I would ask for it in writing from the applicant, yes.
What is C? What was C?
And just for reference, everyone, that is our town code 15-9-180.
Is there any more we can do tonight, or is it pretty much good for now, and then we'll keep moving forward?
Well, I would ask for a written request for extension from the property owner before any motions made by the board, or I'm sorry, the commission.
Okay. Should we make a motion, Trey?
I think you can just make a request. I don't think you need to move to make that request.
Do you hear that, IKEA? Can we make that request?
I've got it on my to-do list.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I'm just making a note that it was what you guys did. And specifically what we're requesting, because we've talked about it for a minute now, updated timeline, is that right?
Development schedule.
Development schedule.
Okay, noted. All right, so is that about everything the planning commission can do for today, Seth? On this?
I think that was the only item on the agenda. I was just trying to make note of that topic for future meeting so that we do keep this project moving forward if that's the intent of the commission. But yes, I think that we've handled our agenda tonight.
Wonderful.
Okay. So is there anything else? We only have one item on the agenda. We concluded that item.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
If I may, I would just like to jump in one more time. I'm sorry, commission. That's the best information I have at this time. If anyone has different meetings minutes or more information from the May 10th, 2021 meeting, please inform me of that. I know that I have asked Scott, and Scott has done a lot of digging and a lot of research and has provided me with everything that he has. But if there's any more information, just please provide that to the town and myself.
Thank you, Seth, for all that work.
Sorry to butt in there. I do appreciate that. I'm sorry.
All right.
You just want to vote on that?
If the
What?
vote to adjourn.
All in favor? Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Wonderful. All right.
This is me that I've got to take better notes.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Akia.
How's the